Welcome to Lady Babylon. I am Ammon. Tonight, I want to give you a few things just for us to roll around in and for us to enjoy. You know, I've got the goodies for you. You know, I wouldn't come unless I had brought the goodies to you. I've got them tonight, some things that are going to make you feel unsettled. We're going to take some people and we're going to make them sacrifices. We're going to make them sacrifices. This is the eulogy for those we mourn. I love it. Thank you for coming tonight. And I want to start this moment by purifying this space with a hymn. Another one from Mike. And remember that Mike is right deep in that mystery cult. Loving it. Hit it, Joey. Welcome to prison. It's nice to be here with you. I want to just throw out a couple of little tidbits for you to push around and push through your brains and bring out here in this discussion of I am Ammon. I want to start with you with a young man. I want to start with a 10-year-old boy. And a boy who turned to a girl, and that girl promised him she would always stay with him if he would protect her from the men who wanted to defile her. And that boy made a promise at 10 years old. I will always be with you. I will always be with you. Yeah. Her name was Sophia, and he was smitten. Not in the way that you'd be smitten by your sunbathing stepmother, but in a way that is pure, a way that is holy, a way that you can go to sleep at night comfortable without hearing what's going to happen in the church. Yes. What happened? Look, I sold out. I sold out to that delicious, delicate taste. Of bringing some dead person to life. I looked into the eyes from the mission. I looked into the eyes of the dead drunks, those dead drunks. I looked into their eyes and I brought them hope. I brought them hope. To see a man born again, you know, to see a teenager in a Bible class open up, have their eyes open. This is a marvelous thing. But there's one thing in my life that tastes even better than the newborn. And that is the nemesis of the blood. To take down the arrogant and haughty, to bring them to their knees, to show the world their emptiness. There is no ambrosia that you can drink that will more sustain you than this. Remember that. Remember that when you are in that cold, dark place and you're starving and your bones are aching. Yeah, remember, servants of Nemesis. That's where justice is. We bring down the haughty. Love it. Tonight, I wanted to show a couple of clips just to illustrate who David Charles Ammon Hillman is. Yes. Many of you know already, blah, 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 resume, CV, blah, 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 PhD classics, MS bacteriology, MA classics, BA. Yes. Book writer, author, PhD student, in trouble for saying those in antiquity who were in the know knew about the drugs. Yeah. You start to expose the parties, and you love that here, don't you? I've got some stuff. It's so sexy tonight. And I mean that in a metaphorical way, people. It is so incredibly erotic. It is the Eros that drives the magic. It is the Eros that drives the magic. I found that magic sitting in the vineyard of a witch queen, listening to my roommate speak in wolf tongue, for lack of a better descriptor, spoke to me my future, sitting in this great queen's garden. Yeah, it's been excavated. We were working at Tel Megiddo, and up he sat in his bed and spoke in some kind of forced dog language. He told me the future. He told me what would happen. He told me the names that would be on my head. And then he ran off the next day. Israeli police caught up with him. On the next night of the dig, when we were uncovering the floor of a Canaanite temple, gorgeous, so gorgeous to know of those dancing feet. I can see them. I can see those dancing feet on that altar of life. I love it. I love it. The next night, roommate number 2, new recruit, same thing, sits up in bed, tells me, this is your future. In the very same terms. This place, I said, this is a marvelous place. It was the vineyard of an ancient witch, part of a people who used a drug that I'm going to show you, Jesus mixing into the wine. Do I have a text? You know me, kids. I always bring it to you. Here it is. We have the text. Oh, God, you're going to love this. Before we get there, hit the first of these clips, and let's talk about what this fool is raving.
I said, break the Christian lens. The first thing that you all believe that is completely wrong is that women had no power in the ancient world, that they were slaves, they were chattel. You've heard this. Classes repeat this over and over and over again. And that's completely wrong. And the way that you can see this is the earliest medicine, we say, is Hippocratic, right? It's not. The earliest medicine is actually gynecological. You can look at the Hippocratic corpus and see that the Hippocratics were borrowing from a female tradition. And we have one text, the diseases of women, that scholars have said, this is written by one of the Hippocratics, Hippocrates, or one of his students. And they smile and look at each other. It's not in English, right? They smile and look at each other. And in the text itself, it says, don't trust those stupid men physicians. You have to go to a woman because only we know the body.
Mars needs women, definitely. And I am looking for that Amazonian at this point. I am looking for that Amazonian woman. I have found her in the text, and I've started to pull her out and see her for what she is and her beauty, her amazing beauty. And in front of the scholars and the hoo-haws and the big shots and the people with the foundations and whatnot, maybe some of them want to know, but we're not going to sell this material, right? We're not going to sell this material. We're just going to profane the sacred. I'm doing that with you, and I know that you know it. I can't hear you directly, but in my mind I can hear what you're thinking, and I know you've come for those profanations. You've come. It's inside of you. You were drawn. It's just what they told me. Yeah. Fantastic. Fantastic. Where does this guy go? Where does this guy go? He goes right through education. And he gets to the point that he's writing his dissertation, and it causes a splash. It causes a little bit of a splash. And how does it do that? Because the dissertation committee did not want me to publish anything about recreational drug use or the classical authors who were indulging in recreational drug use. And you know what this did to me. It caused me to vow that for the rest of my life, I would find those things that people didn't want published. I've got one for you tonight, and I'm going to publish it here. Instead of writing it up in a muck journal, I'm going to burn it. I'm going to burn it so far through the publishers will never be able to carry it, because what are we all interested here in? What's the whole purpose for this life of Ammon? Yes, right. It's to find out who that naked kid was with Jesus, right? Come on. That's really what we all want to know. It's the answer. And the fish would get off the ground, get back, and solve for us the language. You and I would have the oldest language of Western civilization. Don't even bring your paltry Egyptian. Oh, the Egyptians, they're so old. Yeah, I'm talking Pulaskian. Yeah, you're going to love this stuff. And when you see Jesus in a light tonight, I'm going to give it to you. Okay, I should stop. Run that second clip. Let's keep going.
There's a drug that Mary Magdalene gives to Jesus. I hate using the Bible because then all the Gnostics will start yelling. But there's a drug that Mary Magdalene gives to Jesus, right? And if you check it out in the Greek, there's not one name for one plant. You guys all know that, right? Because you live that. But modern classicists don't. And in these texts, you have all sorts of different names. You have street names for drugs. Opium. You don't call it opium in the ancient world. You call it the juice. We know she gives it to him before the garden. Before he ends up in the garden, that's where he's betrayed. When he's in the garden, he's with that kid in the garden. Is there an association? Was there a reason that he had the linen cloth? The kid had a linen cloth. What do we know about linen? What kind of ceremonies is that used in? Why is it that Jesus' apostles are standing at a distance? Why is it a public park? Why is Jesus dealing with a prostitute in the first place? And what is that prostitute? That's what our understanding of the term is. How did the Greeks and the Romans and the Hellenists that lived in the mishmash of Judea, how did they interpret that?
Yeah. Where does that take us? You see how we jumped into the forbidden, especially when we trod on prostitutes, right? As soon as we bring up that prostitutes, I'm going to show you in a minute a prostitute on a crucifix. You're going to love it. You're going to absolutely love it. This is hidden stuff, people. Nobody gives you this text because these kind of texts they don't want you to have, but it's not because it's a conspiracy. It's just because they're lazy. You have to read a lot of pharmacology. You got to read a lot of medicine, bro. These people don't read the medicine. I went and studied with the dude who did the medicine and the history. Yeah, Dr. John Scarborough. It was my privilege to have been able to work with him. This is the kind of stuff. These text guys are out there and they rub up against the ceiling, and you really have to find a very intelligent way of penetrating further and further and further. That academic progress is that constant, steady motion, that moving forward and forward and forward until that rhythm gets to a point and you get that song. You get that song, all from the evidence. We are classical philologists. Who is Ammon? He is a trained classical philologist. And classics, for those of you who think, what, classicist. Yeah. Before there were PhDs from the university system, before there were medieval wise men, before there were Roman educated. Yeah. Yeah. Way before all of that, you have those who tended the museum. Those were the first classical philologists. Your universities spring from them, from the discipline of classical philology. From the language of the ancient Greeks came power. Yeah, power to figure things out. Yeah, gorgeous. Love it. We have to honor the muse. This is why we're here, is to honor the muse. And that's what the life of Ammon reflects. Yeah. The madness. Let's get that fury. This was a production. This is a woman on an altar who earlier has taken a phallus, has taken a prop that cost a professor his position at a university. Yes, they'll say it was the phallus. They'll say it was the phallus that did it. But on that night of that performance, a professor at a university named Ammon got to sit in an audience and got to watch a stage full of Catholic girls point a phallus, what is called in Rome a fascinum. They got to point this thing. They wanted authenticity. Contractually, I was bound to do it. Right? I didn't care. Did they give you a big advance? Nope. Right? Wasn't anything about cashola. It was about integrity. And they pointed these phalluses, these fascina, they pointed them at priests who abused children and said, your greed stains your soul with a stench of ruin. These are the moments that you live for the catharsis, for the purification. This is what we as mystery initiates. Remember, I am profaning sacred. We as mystery initiates learn this. Yes, love it. Love it. I would take your questions. I would take your questions into my hand, but I have to read them from your mind. I want to bring you a couple of goodies, and I'm just going to give us one last clip where I want to figure out what is in this guy's brain.
So far as to say, the name Eve, these are the Greeks. The name Eve is related to the sacred name for, guess who? Dionysus. Yeah. Yeah. Right? It's very weird. It's like it's when you start realizing the word for The word for medicine in Greek, iatros, the word for doctor, that's the word for physician, iao, it comes from the verb iao, is also a word that means the cry. This is so weird when I read this. The cry that a woman delivering a child gives. Isn't that weird? That's its own thing, and that's what means medicine. That's where medicine comes from, right? And the arrow drugs to cause the uterus to contract and all that. It's beautiful stuff.
Yeah, the arrow drugs cause the uterus to contract. Try giving a group of classicists who look like they have been cut out of, no offense to the guys across the pond, right? You know me, I'm just talking what's straight up. But they have this kind of affiliation for that genteel, face cracked society where if you talk about uterine contractions, even something like that bothers them. Now, how am I going to mention? You have to put yourself in my shoes. How am I going to let people know that not only are their uteruses involved, my God, their uteruses involved, but there are um, modes of ecstasy for which these mystery religions are, kind of all the dressing. Yeah, 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 to bring you to the point of orgasm. Yes, to bring you to the point of orgasm. You have to talk about it. The word orgy, the religion that you're looking at, everything is based upon a sexual act. Oh my God. Are you sure that the followers of Bacchus always lead to Aphrodite? Every time. Every time. Why do you think Pentheus is so, let's get dressed up and go see? Right? It's where he should be, naughty boy. Right? You know who you are. Love it. This is the kind of stuff. Now, how do I bring this kind of world of reality? How do I bring it to the people who are teaching and propagating, what is essentially a fairy tale? A fairy tale. The person who reviewed the Chemical Muse with the Bryn Mawr Classical Review, Philippe French Tickler, I think is his name. He was he now has recanted and said, "Oh my God, this guy was obviously right." Yeah, he's not saying it publicly, right? But that's what's going on, and he's writing a book that he's going to sell based upon the foundation that the Chemical Muse laid. Isn't that nice? That's how it works, kiddos. That's how it works. You might like this, to get to know me. My last offering to St. Martin's Press. People have asked me, why haven't you been publishing a book? You just have another book, a follow-up. I said, I tried. I gave him an offer, but they told me, they said, Dr. Hillman, we cannot give that to our people. Yeah, no, we can't. It'd be too offensive. Too many people offended. Okay, that's how you know you're at that juncture. As soon as you notice people start getting offended, in the gymnasium, you have your in. I want you to remember this as Satanists. When you see that moment of weakness, that's your in. You have to take that opportunity. If you don't, you're not going to win the wrestling match. And why are we all here naked wrestling? Right? The gymnasium in antiquity, right? We're all naked wrestling. Yeah. We're watching the form. We're watching the moves, right? We're working through it as we work through our ethics, right? Isn't that great? And how are we doing all of that? We're doing that in Greek. And that's what ends up with your university system, which right now is clogged, full of garbage. Full of garbage. You can take these people down in an instant and side by side with them. Just go toe to toe, toe to toe. And what is shameful is that what is out there is tainted by that lens, right? It's tainted by a Judeo-Christian lens. a propaganda built to create a world in your mind that is a fairy tale. Imagine that. Imagine that. You are organisms in a machine that is propagating a fairy tale. Yeah. And it wasn't, yeah. It wasn't Celsus who was the last guy, right, Neil? It wasn't Celsus who was the last guy who said, guess what? We're doomed. We are doomed. And we have been fighting that doom for how many centuries now? How many centuries, really? Yeah, fantastic. It's quite the prison. Love it. But that's what we're here for. I'm going to bring you the goodies now. One more clip and then the goodies. I promise you, I'm going to show you Jesus in a way that nobody has shown you Jesus before. Let's go to a clip.
He said, I'm so-and-so. He introduced himself. I'm so-and-so. I was involved with Bernard Law, with Cardinal Law, and getting this case started. He's the guy who got the case started against Law. And he said, what you've done, with tears in his eyes, I'll never forget it. He said, what you've done in describing what the priests in the ancient world were doing and what their justification for it was, he said, you have grasped onto something that I saw in my priest abuser. He said, you don't understand. He said, you have somehow taken out of that priest that did that to me, and you've put it into what was in the hearts of the men who did it in the ancient world. It's a real phenomenon. It's not, this is the real world. And if we don't talk about it, why this religious phenomenon of priests with boys, right? Why is this permeating right now? Is there something in society that's permeating? It's the vampires drinking the baby blood, right? Maybe we can throw in some anti-Semitic tropes and we can turn it into something that we had in the Middle Ages. Maybe a plague. That would be cool, right? It's the witches. Let's kill all the witches. Maybe we'll get...
Okay, the plague wasn't so cool, but what you can see is the evolution of a person's thought, yeah, and how everything around them affects them and creates your culture, creates your reality. And yeah, that's not my thing. I'm just musing now, you know what I mean? But my loyalty is to the text. My loyalty is to the text. Let's get to this last clip. We got one more, and I want you to consider as you and I work with text, because I'm giving you things, and I see that many of you in the comments are saying, I don't do the Greek, so I'm taking it directly from Ammon, right? I do run a Greek program, and I love for people to be able to acquire the language. It does me no greater feeling than to have a student go off and get into a grad program and take their entrance exam and come out with those first 2 years off, right? Because they're good. They're at intermediate reading level. Why am I so jazzed by that? Because when you give people these texts, these secret texts, they're not really secret, lazily secret texts, when you give them to them and their mind is forced into the Greek, it transforms them. It works on them mentally. It enlightens, it opens the eyes. Remember, it's the song in the mystery that is more important than any of the other components, including the drug component. And if they thought in antiquity that the song was more important than the drugs, that's a huge deal. That's a huge deal. It makes people uncomfortable. And you all know that I enjoy making people uncomfortable. It's nemesis. That vapor, that you're able to feed off of, it's ether. People can't see it, but it's ether. And to be able to give that, to show you the Jesus, I'm craving Jesus right now. I really am. We have one more clip. Do the clip, and then we get Jesus in a way that you guys have never seen him before. And it's only to illustrate that's who I am. Let's go look at the evidence, right? forget your arguments. Let's do the evidence. Hit the last one.
I can't imagine what it would be like to have read the amount of documents and texts that you have read. It just falls out of you like it's fluid. So going,
I have a cheat. I have a cheat. You want to hear my cheat?
I'd love to.
Can I tell your audience? I shouldn't do this because I'm exposing myself, and you're never supposed to expose yourself as a magician. But I have a cheat. I have a muse. And this muse is a dead girl that I am able to talk to via a practice handed down from the late Bronze Age. And she is able to resurrect in front of my very eyes the spirits of the dead. And I call them up one by one. I was talking just the other night with Lord Byron.
Mm-hmm.
And she was teaching me the way of Cain through the song of Lord Byron. Isn't that interesting? It's always your sources. Always go to the sources. Just read the stuff.
Yeah, and just 1 degree above that, in case you were wondering, for the inquiring mind. The degree to which the cheat is useful is indeterminable. Yeah. And what do I mean? I had to find for a professor once in Boston a purple anus, because if the burning purple that we're about to see, if the burning purple is being used rectally, right? We're all doctors, just discuss it like doctors. If it's used rectally, there should be some stain of the skin. There should be some stain. Did you know that wine that Jesus serves stained their lips purple? Oh, I can't wait to show you. Okay, presumably, we need that reference, says Professor X. I'll go ahead and say it so that I'm not making it up. Dr. Carl Rock. And if it's there, then we need to find the text. So I've asked the muse, give me the text, and randomly reached up to my big library and pulled down the one reference to the purple anus that I've ever seen. It's there. It's there. And this is what I have to bring you, is a vision of reality, a vision of a reality that is what is behind your fairy tale. Yeah, fantastic. I'm Ammon. Let's go to the first. Let's get to our first quote. Let's love it. Oh, don't you love this? Look, Chewy has this so nicely laid out. By the way, I wouldn't be Ammon without Chewy. So big round of applause for Chewy and everything that she does, and the constant protection that she gives me. There is something about the Great Mother that even a mortal man can reflect. Yeah. And that's a beauty that you won't get unless you're a devotee of the Great Mother. Fantastic. I don't know how else to say it but that. Thank you, Chewy, for everything. Here is, and let's just get it to them. They're going to be sending in the TIE fighters pretty soon. Look at this little bit of Greek here. I just want you to see the containers from which Jesus has been transforming the wine, that those are the ones that they use in conjunction with the incense, the thing that you and I call incense, but the doctors are calling drug compounds. Yeah. And he's using this. So right away, we know on a profile what could be in that container. Yeah, it's going to have, I'm sorry, but it's going to have some sex drugs in it. Don't worry, those of you who love Jesus, right? Don't worry. The Pope cleared, I'm sorry, Protestants, but on the Catholic side, the Pope cleared that those charges of Mary Magdalene that she was carrying the sex drugs, right? Why would Mary be having sex drugs? What do you think she put on that alabastron that she used on Jesus? Did you know that Mary used an alabastron on Jesus? Nonus is going to write about it. Nonus is going to do it, and he's going to do it using the oldest form of cult terminology known. It's a cult terminology that comes all the way from the Mycenaeans, but is preserved in Nonus. What is this text that I'm bringing you? Right? The people out there who you think know the things don't know what text this is because they don't read this stuff. Right? Right? They don't read it. Just, I don't know, it's ignored. Right? But here we go. Why is he using these old cult terms? Do you know what he calls Jesus Christ? He calls him the Wanox. Do you know how long it had been since anybody called anybody a Wanox? It's only in the circles of the mystery. They are their titles. Did you know that John the Baptist cries Bacchus? Yeah, John the Baptist cries Bacchus. And now you know why he's wearing those skins and he's tromping out young boys into the wilderness with a penis-shaped cup. And I say that as any great art historian would do with the utmost savvy. Yeah, a penis-shaped cup in Latin. The vitreum priapeum, the glass Priapus. The glass Priapus. Can we see Priapus? There's Priapus, right? Isn't that a beautiful Roman painting? Oh, God, I love that, right? Look at, wouldn't you love to have the inside of your place like that? Who's painting? Oh, God. Beautiful old art. Did somebody say that they wanted to get rid of that? I think they burned that in Florida. Love it. Love it. Okay. Let's go to the back to that quote, and then I'm gonna. Hey, okay, yeah, it's the pot that is mixing the drugs that are used in the sex rites. Okay, so right away, you know, Jesus, when Mary comes to him and she's like, dude, I need that special wine. And he's like pissed off and gripey. Yeah, he's gripey. What do you want with me, woman? Yeah, she wanted to make some of his purple juice. Now it turns out the text says it was purple because Jesus performed a great thalma, a great spectacle, a great miracle. What was Jesus's big miracle that launched his career? It was making purple juice. It was making purple juice. What did they call this purple juice? He called it the venom. The venom. Bring it up. All you classicists out there, all you Bible scholars, shame on you for not knowing this. Shame on you. You look silly. You look silly, religious studies at Harvard. You look silly. Yes. I am Ammon. I am Ronan. I am Ronan. I am free to bring you this mystery. Yes, I'm free because I don't sell it. Love it. Love it. Bring up that quote again. Love it. Chewy. We got to hit. No, it's next one. Yeah. Yeah. What is it they're looking at this time? Well, the Christ does what? He's got to get the wine. What does he do? He starts yelling at the servants. Get this stuff ready. Make preparations of, look at that second line, Greek students, dipsados elapines. Make preparation of what? The sacred drink of the dipsas. The sacred drink of the what? The sacred drink of the dipsas. don't worry, it's a snake. It's a snake. Yes, it's a snake. And everybody here knows, because Jesus is rocking on the juice when he's sitting on the cross yelling, I'm so thirsty. Because the thirst is the name for the snake. That stuff boosts you into the third heaven, brah. And he is wasted on it. Well, he knows how to make it good. The big G, the gangsta G, knows how to make the purple. Oh, God. Yeah. Now you think, why does he need that boy? You want the purple, you got to have the boy. Let's go back to the text. Yeah. What does he do here in the end? I just want you to look at these last words. Love it. He cries out that Bacchic shout of the wine victory, the voice that brings the victory with the wine, the voice that brings the ecstasy. What is Jesus doing? He just made purple juice that gets people high. And now he's screaming like a madman, using the very same cult epithets that are used for Heracles. For Heracles? Yes, check the Orphic fragments. You'll find that these same epithets that are used for Jesus are used for Heracles with respect to his love of the purple and the boy cult. You see Hylas. Don't forget Hylas. That's one thing I realized in my career. I am Ammon. That's one thing I realized in my career. Don't forget that boy. Don't forget him. I had that boy. I had Hylas. Who is Hylas? He's the one that serves the nectar. And just so you don't think this is all symbolic, you can talk about drinking out of Hylas's rectum. Yeah, they do in the Priapeic poetry. That's Zeus's cup. Yeah, it's the nectar, bro. It's the nectar that gives those immortals immortality. If you were born again, you would know that. But you're not. And that's why Jesus Christ is arrested in a public park with a naked kid. Because he knows. He knows. Love it. Let's go to the next one. So Jesus is high, right? High as he can be. Now, and all of a sudden, I'm going to throw you the biggest curveball that you've ever seen in your life. Are you ready for this? At least it is for me. It is for me. I'm sorry. Curveball. I'm admitting. Look at this. Parthenike Christoio. Look at that genitive. Look at that genitive. That's not a typical genitive, right? But we are using a cult meter, right? Oh, love it. Christoio theotokos iketometer. And you read that and you think, a typical person, classically trained person, philologists would read that and say, yeah, that's uneventful. It's about the mother of Christ, who is she who brings the God. Yeah, she's the virgin, Parthenike, right? And she's the one who brings the God. Hikita, she came with them. She accompanied, she showed up. Yeah, so it's not hard to translate, but I want to show you something. Look at the third word. If you go Wikipedia right now, Theotokos, you're going to find this is a title used for the one who bears God, right? And the Orthodox Church, they will adhere to this. The Greeks, they will adhere to this. And there's a big controversy among the Christians after they kill the educational system. They get together these morons who debate about whether or not the Virgin Mary was still a virgin and was holy and all this kind of controversy, Nestorian. And the theologians and the religious historians, they like to sit around and touch themselves in intellectual ways. You thought I was going to say something else, didn't you? This is family programming. They touch themselves intellectually. Yeah. They stimulate themselves with this image this controversy, the Theotokos. Is she still a virgin? What? You don't recognize that cult, so you don't know what's going on. Look at this word. It's got a secret. I'm going to show it to you. I'm revealing this to the world. Are you ready? Here's the big reveal. Get the slides ready, Chewy. We're going to cut this and put it on. So I'm going to set this one up. This is going to be a short or something. Are you ready? It's feminine. She bears the goddess. Oh, Jesus is a goddess. Oh, it makes way more sense. You've got Hylas staring you at the face now, just like I did. He came to me after a talk I gave, and he said, you grabbed that power that was in the eyes of my rapist priest. You grabbed it. You're on to it. You know it. And he's crying while he does so, streaming tears down his eyes. Do you know what's more delicious than representing that boy that was with Jesus when he was arrested? Nothing is sweeter than the trans-dimensional authority chasing a child rapist through dimensions and time. Nothing is better. Yeah. Let's get one. Oh, I'm so heated up. I feel like it's a little anticlimactic to come down. I need some ice cream or something nice, some kind of dessert before we end the date, which I love. I love this. It's gorgeous. Okay, let's go. Look at this. Just look at the second sentence, and I want you to notice the atokos on the bottom, the second line. The atokos. Once again, it's not a mistake. It's not a mistake. And you can have an academic discussion of, well, they're doing it to try to fit in meter. You need a long vowel there, and the Omicron is not going to work it. So you need to fit the convention of the dactylic hexameter. I'd love to have that debate, but people won't even look at these materials, right? For a sophisticated debate. The fact is, it still says that Mary is the one who produces the she Jesus, the she Jesus, the she God. Oh, Jesus, is that why you're with the boy Jesus? Because they did to you what you're doing to him? Is that why? That's what the Egyptian priest taught you, isn't it? Yeah, Jesus, I'm sorry that I have to do this, but I need you to tell me. I need you to tell me, Jesus, what you did to that naked kid in the Garden of Gethsemane, Jesus. No, a little bit louder. A little bit louder, Jesus. Hylas. That's his name. What's the name of the naked kid that floats the mystery of Christ? Hylas. That's his name. Yeah. Let's go to the last quote. I just want to show you because, some people were watching recently, and I was dealing with what I can only describe as, a gang of people from the Middle Ages whose interest is not in the science. Their interest is in burning witches. Yeah. And they've made a world. They've made a world that doesn't exist. It was our job in satanic initiation to take back the text. It was our job. We're guardians. That's what dragons do. Don't get in the way when a dragon is guarding the relic. This is the field of Mars. There is a standard that the muse has. And don't you ever stand, present yourself as a veteran unless you have been in that discipline, unless you have sweat and blood poured into it. Don't be a pretender. Yeah. You're God. I'm sorry. that small organ was cut off, that child castrated, that boy that was with Jesus, it was the same operation they did to him. You take on the form of the goddess. Yeah. Is it safe to say that the maniac that was screaming magic from the cross, is it safe to say that he was a castrated boy? Yeah, it is. It is. Praise Jesus. It is. And this is only for those of you who have ears to hear, right? This is only for you. Fantastic. What I want is to bring you those texts. I don't want you not to have them. It's been everything about my career. People ask me, what is your pathway? What have you learned? What have you learned? The text, people, it's all that matters. Nothing that I say, nothing, no ideas of mine, nothing that has a price tag on it. None of that stuff matters. The actuality matters. And the actuality is that Jesus Christ was arrested with a naked boy that was using a medicated bandage, just like the ones that they use with the burning purple. And that when an author like Nonus writes about this purple staining substance that the Baptists, the dyers, are using, yeah, we can't turn away from it. We can't turn away from it. Jesus Christ was arrested with a naked boy. Our civilization, people, I'm sorry, but is built upon a child rapist. The love and grace that you feel of Jesus, the love and grace that you feel is the love and grace generated by the mind magic of a dude who was arrested in a public park with a naked boy. And don't think that Moses isn't also mentioned in the indictment. You've got to go to that pole with the serpent in order to get there. We need Amazonian women to bring us back to balance, to bring us justice and nemesis. I want to say thank you for coming along with me in this journey. I have 2 more seasons to pack everything in so that your initiation is complete. And I'm going to start season 6 with my translation of the dirtiest, most critical look at the sources of Jesus that we've seen. We're going to look into the dirt with a new gospel. This is the Gospel of John. What magic am I talking about? The Gospel of John has been transformed. Thanks to Nonus, the great bridge is now available between what you have read about Jesus and what Jesus was doing. That bridge is available for the first time in this dead guy Nonus. And you will be surprised when you see what they were doing. You'll be surprised, and it will make sense. And you will say, oh my God, the wedding of Cana. Did you know that was a religious ritual? Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. She, Jesus. Yes. Love it. I look forward to it next season. I do. And I just wanted to make this opportunity possible in order for us to be able to say, hey, who is this guy that, whatever, say what you want. But now you know a little bit of the background. And now I want to go to comments. I want to do something that I don't normally do. And I'll be showing up at the Discord in just a bit after a quick break. But I want to look at some comments Chewy, can you? I know I didn't prep. We didn't prep for this, but can you bring up a few comments so people can, interact? Something. Oh yeah. Well, so Satanists, yeah, yeah, right. Anybody bring it. If you bring something, anybody right now who wants to ask something about Ammon, feel happy, feel free to do so. Or if you just want to add a comment, feel free to do so. I want to include the audience because I think you get short shrift. You know what I mean? You guys have been here the whole time. Look, how many people came today? 128 people just gave me an hour of their time. Right? What kind of dirt bag would I be if I didn't ask you for input? Does anybody have any input on anything that has to do with, let's say, I don't know, um, Kip? No, let's not. Come on, don't make jokes. That's not funny. That's not funny. Don't do. I saw that in the comment earlier. I appreciate it, but we need to leave, that in the gymnasium, right? We leave that. We professionally bring people nemesis. We don't, we're not wolves. We're not wolves that eat chunks of meat. Love it. Not all of us anyway. Yeah. Okay. Can you bring that up, Chewy? Is there any? What was the prophecy you were given by your roommates who went insane at the archaeological dig? Okay. Go ahead and leave it up there. What was the prophecy? It was of what would happen to me over the course of my lifetime. And it was specifically stated. This is what I thought was really neat, right? Was that the two were somehow able to say the same message. And it was that the first thing they opened up with was, "You are surrounded by the powers of Lucifer." And I was like, the first time I was like, "God, this guy, what are they giving these people around here?" Right? Whew, it was something. But you are surrounded by the powers of Satan. And there was a number of legions, and to be honest, I don't remember what it was. And something about you can be access this, right? These are the helpers, right? Oh, so when the second person, the second night, started saying the same thing, that's when I put on my, trust me, people, I'm wearing my skeptic's hat, right? But I'm also a devotee of the muse. And by that time, I had gotten to know, I had a little bit of wisdom, and I started to feel okay. I started to feel okay with it. And then the second night, boom. And I just had some, again, I listened a little bit more carefully, but it was about the future from the Garden of Jezebel. Yeah. And I will always treasure. I will always treasure that. That place to me is sacred. I don't know if you people have been there in Ron Jezreel, but it's absolutely sacred ground. I totally understand why this, right, somebody following the Phoenician way would be empowering this kind of demonic activity. Now, for those of you who are Christians, the only way to describe this physics are what we're being used by your guy, right? He knows the same magic, and he's using it. Let's get another one. Lady Babylon, can you speak more about the muse and how you speak to her? Yeah, no, that's great. All truth on the table. I am Ammon, right? I discovered by reading, discovered the sortes. And the sortes are just a random, you randomize your experiment, right? You just throw in the element of randomness. All right. What's wrong with your scientific experiment? You have no compensation for chance. That's the problem. You have to throw in random, and the random, like gravity, will pull and curve, create a curve. Love it. Anywho, randomize your text. Ask the muse, right? You just ask her, hey, where can I find X? Who, you approach with serious, you approach with very, a serious and respectful intent. That's the part of the Saba that I was learning from the Greek text. This reverence, this recognition of divinity. So where's the purple anus, right? Show me the purple anus. That was the, show me the purple anus, and then you randomize the text. Take the text off, and you read the text within, as an answer to the question, right? And somebody said, well, somebody asked me once, how do you use this with respect to seeing the future? Well, you can ask questions about the future. It's oracular necromantic craft, right? You can ask about the future, and if you can get accurate predictions as a scientist, you can't walk away. You can't walk away from that. There's some kind of quantum something going on with those texts. Now, why am I doing this? Because they're doing it in antiquity, right? And I'm reading about all these great people who were doing it. And I'm reading about this one great muse who goes millennium to millennium doing it. And yeah, that's what brought me. So is it accurate? I will report, and I will swear on the throne of Satan, right? I'll swear on the throne of Satan. The accuracy is what shows you my inability being filled with that quantum ability of the muse, right? I couldn't find this. My scores are not that high, right? I couldn't do this. But for that source to be able to do it, show me the purple anus, right? And I did this once publicly for a librarian who asked me to, do my thing, and I did it, and showed them that the text can answer questions. The text can answer questions directly, so accurately. I love this. Okay, I got to tell this story. There was a man. Okay, this is personal. I am Ammon. I'll tell this. I'm sorry. There was a man that I was working with, and I was, for some reason, upset with this gentleman, and I asked the muse what, because I did this, what's going to happen. And she said, you're going to pull his beard out, right? Beautiful, perfect classical Latin. You will pull his beard out. And I found myself that day pulling his beard out. Long story short, some caulking from insulation got on his beard, and he was panicking, and he asked me to pull it out, and I pulled his beard out. And as soon as I realized that I just pulled his beard out, the really how an understanding clicked with me of how they were doing it in antiquity. So it's called the sortes. It's called the sortes. It's nothing. I'm not, it's nothing hidden. It's an old necromantic practice. If you look into the history of sortition, you're going to find that it's necromancers who are doing it, right? And why would you want to be necromancers? Because they're the ones who talk to the dead, right? You want to talk to you want to talk to Odysseus, right? You got to go through a necromancer. Everybody knows that. Odysseus knew that. Let's go. Here's another one. Was there purple in the linen cloth? Oh, who did this? That's great, Gina. Gina, that's exactly the question. That's exactly the question that I'm asking. Yeah. Was there purple? Gina, we can't jump. We got to be good investigators. We need that cloth. We need that linen with the purple in it. We need that. We need it with the purple in it. God, we've got to find somewhere that kid's rag. And where do we know that rag or bandage? On the doctor's side, they're calling these things bandages. And we know that they're impregnating them with drugs. See, this is the stuff they didn't want me to learn that I was learning. And right out of the brothels, right out of the European brothels. Yeah, is where this is coming from. Oh, God, love it. It's all sex, drugs, to prevent pregnancy and to reduce venereal disease. You ever seen an ancient case of herpes? Oh God, I read a description of herpes from antiquity, right? We have antivirals now and whatnot, but they didn't. And herpes was fatal. Did you know herpes is fatal? Oh my God, you ought to read about the spread of herpes. Does any, yeah. Are you ever going to let Jung go free? No. No, Jung is mine. That's why we kicked down the doors and, took control of the text. And we looked at the priests of Jung and we said, you gentlemen, you are inadequate. They can't explain the red book. No, who said that? Yeah, Rob. No, Rob, not letting him go. He belongs to us now. See, they can't read him. People don't realize. I'm going to let you guys know this. Please don't tell anybody. Please don't tell anybody. There's a seal, a magic seal on what's called now the red book. There's a magic seal on it. Yeah, you can find it. Look in the magician. Yeah, look in the magician. And that seal becomes a cipher for the rest of the book. Yeah, they can't explain the red book because they didn't dive deep into the actual Greek language, that engine that's fueling all of this magic, right? That is imprisoning Carl. Yeah. No, he's still here. He gets to stay with me for as long as I want. And to be honest, it's kind of perverted, I know, but I kind of like to torture him. I do. I like it. He's like, you let me go. And I'm like, no, right? Stay chained. Yeah. If you want to tell somebody who is Ammon, he's the guy who has Jung chained to his floor. Yeah. You know what we do? Don't, Chewy, right? Chewy's laughing. You know what we do with Carl Jung? Oh, God. Let's show. Yeah. No, let's not. That is just for the sake of pure prurient pleasure. Yeah. Yeah, no, we can't do that. We can't do that. We have time for one more. Did you find one more? Thank you. I'm on. I love you, brother. I love you. I love how you stand up and don't take no B. I like that. I like that. I don't take no B. No. Who takes B? Ask Kip. We don't take B. This is an art. I've watched men and women struggle in the arena of classical philology like champions. I'm not taking your yeah. Oops, punk. Yeah, okay. People that think they know what they're talking. Yeah, right. No, I get it, brother. I hear you. That's Juan. Thank you, Juan. You just created a fan. You right? Me and Juan, a little bit of Satyrian. Yeah. A little bit of Satyrian, some drums. Whoo! Temple Aphrodite. Boom, 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 boom. Let's go, Juan. Let's catch Jesus in a public park with a naked boy. Let's catch him. Let's catch him and bring him out. Show him to everybody. Cardinal law got brought out into light and shown to everybody. Why? Because it's prison. This is prison. This is his punishment. You mean your life is your punishment? Whoa, I thought it came afterwards. No, this is it. Oh my God. Lethal. They come in and it's lethal from the beginning. Those watchers, I tell you, they poison your brain. Let's go to that one. Yeah. This is Daquan with the Kung Fu chops. Fantastic. What do I think of Nietzsche? What do I think of Nietzsche? I think he was a brilliant, tortured, inspired, humble, mud-soaked mortal. And I think his pain is kind of the pain of his life, is kind of the chord that runs through his song. He wrote The Birth of Tragedy. I'll say one thing. The Birth of Tragedy is a work of genius. And every classicist who hasn't read that should be spanked like that on the buttocks for not having read Nietzsche, Birth of Tragedy. Now, the Antichrist, oh, gorgeous, gorgeousness and gorgiosity. Love it. Love it. Thus spake Zarathustra. Yeah. 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 Enjoy. Enjoy. A little bit of Stephen King pairs well with Friedrich Nietzsche. A little bit of Stephen King. It's like they harmonize with each other. It gets really sexy if you can bring them together to see that invisible viper. Oh, it's lovely. No, I love these. Any other questions? I wanted people to be other. No, one more. Chewy says, wait, I'll let you call it. TIE fighters are coming. We got to get out of here quick. People have given me way too much of your time. I truly appreciate it. Ryan, thank you so much. For those of you who have tried to buy the chemical muse and you can't because it's like $6,000. Right? Don't. Right? You can find it. People make deals with swashbucklers all the time. Right? Please don't. You feed your family. That's what's important. Do that one, please. What gym did Priapus go to? Yeah. What gym did Priapus go to? That's a great question. Would you want to wrestle Priapus? I think you want to leave him in his garden, don't you? I saw a thief come in once. There was this is a garden, just typical house garden, nothing big, but there's a thief that came in and the owner came out. The thief was in the process of stealing. He wasn't Augustine. No, he wasn't Augustine. He was like Augustine, but he wasn't Augustine. He wasn't as fortunate as Augustine because the person whose garden this was reached up to Priapus, took out his phallus, which was in the shape of a club, and he beat the guy's brains out. Yeah. You have to guard the fruit, and Priapus is the guard of the fruit. Can we bring Priapus back to the picture? Priapus is the guardian of the fruit, right? When you have your child, no, we're back. What was that? They're jamming us. I told you they would catch us. We have to run. I think I just split my pants again. Did the microphone pick that up? Wow. That's the priapic guardian of the garden, right? When you have your child who's about to enter into womanhood, you have a celebration of Priapus with her. Yeah. So that she is able to obtain the luck of what is life. Yeah, love it. I'm Ammon, and I'm looking for that Amazonian woman. I'm looking for her. I want you to be able to see her. She who dances in the holy orchard of Eros, of Mars, the god of war. Mars, the avenger. It's all the same physics. Love it. Next season starts this Friday. Chewy? Yeah. Next season starts this Friday. Sorry, Chewy's in charge, does everything. It's fantastic. I recommend that you, take advantage of your child's quick thinkery. Nice. Thank you. Friday will start, and Friday what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up with the juiciest sections of the transformation of John. The transformation of John. I'm going to bring you that text. Nobody has it, but I've got it for you. And only the really juicy, dirty sections. Right? I want you to see the reality. Right? Oh God, you don't believe me now, but you're gonna love it. Thank you, everybody. It makes my night. The only thing I feel bad about is I wasted some of your time. I should have cut it down. I'm sorry. Have a good night, and hail Satan.